Hey, this is Zac.
And I'm Clint, and we wanted to thank Exo-terra for sponsoring this episode of Colubrid and Colubroid Radio.
Exo-terra is the industry leader in glass terrarium enclosures, and we are a big fan of getting to see the species we work with both at home and at the university.
We utilize Exo-terra caging here at Metazotics, and in addition to top quality terrariums, Exo-terra offers an array of heating options, lighting, supplements, decor, and truthfully anything needed or wanted when keeping reptiles.
Thank you, Exo-terra, for supporting Colubrid and Colubroid Radio. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Colubrid and Colubroid Radio. As always, Zach's here with brother from another mother, Clint. How you doing, dude?
Doing well, my friend. Doing well and excited for this one. How are you doing, buddy?
Yeah. I had a crazy day. It was a good day. Wasn't a bad day. Just a little bit crazy. The West Virginia Department of Natural Resources non-game people. So basically, the people that study everything that you don't catch with a fishing hook, shoot with a bullet. They all came up to the Northern Panhandle, West Virginia, and they were supposed to go out with our partner zoo to look for hellbenders today, but we got a lot of rain, which is why we didn't record last night. And like in the 11th hour yesterday, I got, well, can you just give a tour to the DNR at your facility tomorrow? And I, of course, said, sure. And then that meant like fever cleaning, decluttering, the whole 9 yards. So I spent the day with a bunch of folks. We're going to talk about some things I learned in that day with the science update today. Yeah, it was a good day, chaotic day, but I dwell in chaos. So that's fine with me. So yeah, that was my day. How about you?
Today was interesting. Little shorthanded, shuffled some people around to make sure that we could get everything done. We've got two people out on vacation. One's one of our floor operators. The other is Steve. So the collection's up. And today's Tuesday. Yeah. Okay. So I've not had a day off in several, so it's all running together now. And so we had Drew from Henderson. I'm sure you remember Drew. Yep. He came over to take care of both the collection and nursery Monday because Corey was off Monday, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But you know, he was back again today helping with the collection and taking that off my plate with Steve out. But now Drew's going to be out for a few days. So the rest of Steve's vacation, it's all me back there. But luckily, I think Drew's got most of it knocked out. The only thing he didn't do was feed the big barons. I took care of that for him. So yeah, don't want him to get thumped. So
very cool, very cool.
But yeah, it's been a hectic day with a lot of catch up and more. I've got some other things I'm redesigning now as far as our racks for shows. We got another trailer today.
Oh,
a second trailer because it's. So this, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of jump into all my crap.
Sure, go for it.
And this is going to. My update is going to be partially with the market update as well, and so I'll go ahead and say it now. The market update is always brought to you by the Show Me Reptile promotion, the Show Me Reptile Marketplace. Please, if you are in any area, and they're all over the country at this point, where a Show Me Reptile show is taking place, please support Mickey and his team. As we always say, support those that support us. And by us, we mean us and the Colubrid community. So my market update is going to kind of center around shows and what I'm seeing right now.
Sure.
So we had 3 shows this weekend.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
What the hell? They're everywhere.
Tell me about it. So we had on Saturday, for the first time ever, we had Metazotics in 4 places at the same time. It was, the Chandler shop, the Henderson shop, we had the Evansville show, and we had a Lexington, Kentucky show. And normally, I've got a set of product racks that we take to the shows now, and we have our enclosed trailer. Well, we now have 2 shows in the same day, and we're at the point of the season when we have the fewest animals that we ever have. And so it's like, oh, okay, how are we going to do this?
Yeah.
So, we got more racks in. I pulled all kinds of stuff off the shelves, made sure we had enough to keep the stores where they needed to be, but lighter than what I like the shelves to ever look, to make sure that we could, stock all these. And we scrambled, and luckily Ox was able to come up with another enclosed trailer and borrow it for the day. So Ox did the Evansville show. Corey, who takes care of our nursery, she came with me to Lexington, and it was going to be a full weekend trip for her. Corey's wanting to learn how to do the shows because eventually she'd like to be able to go do them. And I'm like, well, I have Lexington, and then traveling straight from Lexington to Indianapolis, staying the night there, doing the show in Indianapolis on Sunday. So if you want to take this whole route with me, we can go do that. And she was game, so that's what we did. But first off, we had a fantastic weekend. Like Metazotics as a whole with these shows, it really went well, and I'm very, very thankful and grateful for that. Ox, Ox he wasn't alone. He had help. Dex went to that show with him. My son Dex went, and Ox said for the first hour, Dex, because there's a stage behind where we're set up. He said he's sitting on that stage. He's like, this is boring because there's nothing to do. But then it really got busy. So he's over there just hammering away on the computer and, grabbing this and that. So they had a good time, and they did very well. And Corey and we're out in Lexington, and Steve normally does bugs in Lexington, does all the feeder insects. Well, Steve also does Evansville. So it's like, why drive 3 hours to go do the show, when I can do it in my backyard? So Steve did that, which made me know, okay, the feeder tables are open. So I'm going to do bugs as well as everything we normally do, which meant there's no way I could do that show by myself. I had to have help.
Yeah.
And Corey was great. I mean, she was nervous going into it because she's afraid she's going to be asked questions she didn't know the answer to. And I'm like, you know so much more than you think you do.
I was telling my staff same thing.
Yes, you know that where you work in that nursery, you've got more answers than you think. I mean, literally, all the animals that we have on the table, you're working with them every day. You know more about them than anybody else. But she did great, and we sold a crap ton of stuff, a bunch of our cages. And then I'm thinking, oh, man, I feel like I'm kind of empty going into Indianapolis. And Ox messages me and says, hey, I'm thinking about coming up to Indy. I just want to look at some stuff. Really? So here comes Ox meeting us he had to get up at 4 a.m. I think he had to leave at 4 a.m. to get there in time with a whole load to bring us, to restock us for Indianapolis, and then stayed there all day, worked that show with us, and we crushed it there too. So, one, I want to give a lot of kudos to those individuals, to both Ox and Corey, because, they really stepped up. As far as for the market, I want to talk about what I am seeing in the shows, and I'm doing this because I will say, give the promoters a break. Is kind of what I need to tell everybody. If you are seeing shows right now as someone who is shopping, if you're going in and seeing a smaller vendor count than normal, and the shows are looking a little more empty in terms of vendor setups, that's normal. And I'm seeing it in multiple shows by promoters that I think highly of. And that it's a simple reason. And that's, just like I said, we are at the lowest point of animals that we ever have, because it is the season. And as you and I had discussed before, Zach, everything seems to be going late this year.
Oh my God, yeah.
And I'm finding that even in the wild, we're finding black rat snakes that are still breeding right now in this area. And that's just nuts to me. But it's that mild spring that we've had. So I guess, that would be the thing that I have noticed is we had smaller vendor counts. Now, vendors, that's your time to shine, because there are fewer people there with things to sell, but they're typically still going to be a decent crowd coming in, or roughly the normal amount that normally comes into a show. So if you are able to put together, a table or two, it's certainly a good time to do it, because you won't have as many people that you're going to get more dollars per head count. Is kind of like Steve has it figured out where he knows he's got an average dollar that he makes per person through the door on the bugs. It's amazing. I love how he's doing this. It's great. There's fewer tables for it to spread around, but people still come in with the same itch that they normally do. So for the market, that's what I'm going to share, because obviously we want to get through some things, but I do have a story. I've got to share this story. So on the drive, the 3-hour drive to Lexington, Corey shares with me that she talks in her sleep. And we're sharing a hotel room, separate beds, obviously. And I go, okay. And she's like, well, sometimes I like scream. And I'm like, that can't happen. You know what I mean? You're going, you know what I mean? So, well, first night, we're there in Lexington, and in the middle of the night, I hear, thank you. We're talking like 2:00 in the morning. That's it. Just thank you. And I'm like, okay, I guess she does talk in her sleep. Yeah, no biggie. I go back to sleep, go do the next show, or go do the show Lexington, head to Indy. That night in Indy, it's probably 2:30 in the morning. And here's where this story is going to take a slight turn. Apparently, I really had to fart. and I had not done a whole lot of that. We are. And I had done a whole lot of that because Corey had been with me for 2 days at this point. I mean, let's think about it. That whole California trip we're about to talk about, it would have been a whole lot worse if Kayla hadn't been in that vehicle, because I have a feeling there'd been a whole lot more flying than whatever happens. So, yeah. So that same thing that was happening. And I'm dreaming about it, because I'm dreaming that I'm at a reptile show with my son Smith, and I'm telling him, buddy, we got to go. I just farted over there and it's horrible. Hurry, hurry, hurry. Well, all of a sudden, I am startled awake from Corey on the other side of the room going, seriously? Why would you do that? And I'm like in this panic. I'm like, oh, did I fart in my sleep? Did I kind of like, I did one of these where I go, just to see, like, maybe she smelled something. And so I even asked her, are you talking to me? And she doesn't say a word. She's dead asleep in something. But wow. I just thought of all the perfect timing for her to wake me up out of that dream. Yes, and to say that, it was funny. So good stuff. Yeah. But a great weekend, was had by all, for sure.
Wow. Okay. I can't beat that. All right. So science update today brought to us by Rare Genetics Inc. As always, get those sheds to them. Clint and I had a conversation earlier today, as we often do, first thing in the morning, about Colubrid Fest and speakers and what we want it to be, and wrapping this thing up, because not this week, but the next week. So the week after this should land, I think, it's IHS. And so the Advancing Herpetoculture session will be a week from this coming Saturday. And so if you're in the Fort Myers area, you can buy a single-day ticket. Lots of very cool people coming. Jason Hood, Colubrid side of things, talking about Spilotes at that event. And then we have Kayla Martin, about to be on, talking about Egyptian false cobras, and I'm talking about false water cobras. So 3 Colubrid talks right off the rip for that event. But anywho, for our event, Ben volunteered as tribute to give a talk last year on genetics, and I told Ben he was doing it, and I haven't talked to Ben since last September, but this is your notice, Ben, you're giving a talk. So anyway, but we'll be, once IHS is wrapped up and put to bed, it's like full steam ahead with the Colubrid Fest lineup of speakers. And we've had several people already say, hey, I'd love to give a talk. And we're definitely taking some of those people up on it. So that is that. The science update today is more of a conservation update. And it's kind of an editorial from my day with the DNR. So my role in West Virginia is kind of interesting when it comes to herpetology. The DNR utilizes West Liberty's facilities for basically housing the animals that get seized whenever they get wind of a poacher. And I never get to see the numbers on the poaching side of things. And today I've watched a presentation. And I just want to say, I know we oftentimes, as the herpetoculture community, have a tendency to look at departments of natural resources, whatever you call it in your state. It's like Fish and Boat in Pennsylvania, FWRC in Florida, with kind of an eye of they're stealing away our liberties, they're taking away our rights. And I get that perspective because in a lot of instances, there's been some decisions made that make us as herpetoculturalists kind of go, what? Why? And then you kind of move forward. And that's a legit response. But today I got to see turtle specifically, some poaching numbers out of my state. And I love my state. I've been working in my state as a conservationist my entire career. There's not been a second I've been a conservation biologist where I didn't have at least one project in West by God, Virginia, and usually dealing with crayfish, but now several dealing with herps. And wood turtles specifically, the herpetologist for the state basically told a story about an individual that was poaching our wood turtles. And the poaching of the wood turtles it wasn't one turtle, wasn't two turtles. It was 120 plus individual turtles out of one population. And turtles don't reach sexual maturity until they're 15 years old. So they put up a really cool graphic. It was actually a very depressing graphic, but it basically showed when you remove that many turtles out of the wild or out of a population, it basically you're relying on the young of the year to recruit into the adult demographic you're just removed from. And it's going to take 15 years to replace those 120 plus turtles. And if you know anything about turtle biology, there's probably 300 turtles in the whole freaking river. So I basically saw this event is what led to our regulations. So we didn't have herp regs in West Virginia that were really that oppressive. But when the guy was inevitably caught, the response was, well, I'm not going to get in any trouble, so why would I stop? And that's the part of this that rubbed me the wrong way, because we all know that some herps come from situations where we're kind of like, well, how the hell did that get here? Mexico comes to mind a lot. Mm-hmm. And we have a tendency in some circles of herpetoculture to kind of normalize that, to kind of validate it. Like, well, we wouldn't have them any other way. And I just want to say, like, you've got to be willing to be objective, like we are on this show, and ask the question, why do we have this response to what we are doing? And so I got to see the why today, and I can flat out tell you, I'm not upset that West Virginia has these regulations now. I'm not. I totally understand where they came from, because literally the poacher's response was, you can't do anything to me. So you poke the bear is going to come at you. And that's basically what ended up happening. And I don't think we see that response as often as we should. Now, does that mean, before people get upset, every response that's come at herpetoculture has been validated? No. But I can say, at least in my state, I am completely okay with the way the regs fell, because it was quite literally a response. And then the conservation officers, they don't know how to identify anything. So if you put the onus of identification on a CO, conservation officer, you don't get in trouble for this turtle, but you do get in trouble for this turtle. Mm-hmm. We can't be teaching that they've got other things to do. And there's one per county. So they just need to be able to roll up on somebody doing something nefarious. They don't have a fishing license. They don't have a scientific collecting permit. They're not legal. They need to be able to be ticketed in that instance. And so a lot of our listeners, I'm not talking to you, but I just think we need to step back every now and then and ask, why are these rules why are these regulations? Why are they being put in place? And another thing is we often talk about our dollar. So I was talking with the DNR folks today because I am in this really interesting position to represent herpetoculture academically, professionally, and in the private sector. Because I said I breed snakes. I found out today that there was a regulation I did not think I was breaking, that I was breaking. And I asked them, what am I like? How do I fix this? I didn't realize I was breaking the rule. And, they didn't come down on me immediately. They were like, okay, well, this is all you need to do. And then you'll be legal. I was like, all right, cool. But with your dollar, when you're at the show and you got that flipper table there, let's just think about it. If it's Ashley's table, not a flipper table, importer. If it's
difference in as we point that out,
absolutely.
Flipper is the negative connotation. Importer does not mean bad. Flipper
does not mean bad. Who was the guy we just interviewed?
Josh Alder.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like support those people because they're doing it on the level. They're filling out the paperwork. They're representing us well. Give them your dollar, but don't just buy the snake because you see the snake that you've wanted. And if there's a captive born alternative, by all freaking means, get the captive born one. I was explaining to people on the conservation side today, like this captive born thing, which to us is like our bread and butter. They didn't understand like the magnitude of all the captive breeding that's being done, which then, of course, and I said, 9 times out of 10, people want the captive born stock. Every now and then you need the wild caught to bring the new blood in. I get that. But, if I'm buying a snake, I want it to be captive born. That's just me personally.
Mm-hmm.
So this is basically Zac, Clint's, CCR's take that we need to ride that middle like we talk about all the time. And every now and then look in a mirror and ask, how did we get to this place that we're at? And I can flat out tell you, my inner conservationist was just kind of like screaming when I was seeing the turtles. They were destined for Hong Kong. They were not. And the guy came up from Florida to get them. And like there were burner phones. There was cash only. I mean, it was insane.
Wow.
So,
and and the scary part is that's just who they caught.
Yeah, that is just who they caught.
You know what I mean? There's so much that, like the numbers aren't accurate. That's the minimum. The numbers they give you, that's just what they actually found. That's like when people, are poaching deer or anything. Those are just what they know. Not all of them that actually get away with it.
So not all these people that are enforcing these regs are out to get us. I know for a fact they were like, we don't want to do this, but we have to do this. Because you also have to understand when they put these regs in place, that adds to their workload. They're the people that have to enforce. Like they didn't know what the hell to do with the animal. Thank God we were able to work out our MOU, Memorandum of Understanding. And so now we get the animals that are seized and they're being, obviously maintained by people that know what's going on and how to take care of them. But it just was a really eye-opening conversation that I had today. And I just know that I've been in a couple conversations with people on our side of the fence. And there was kind of this normalizing. Well, we wouldn't have Mexican indigos if the occasional one didn't make its way up here. We don't need Mexican indigos. Like that's where I stand on that. If the law says don't import it from Mexico, it's illegal. Don't okay. Now, those of you who have Mexican indigos, not talking about you directly, all righty, because there have been some that have been brought in, I believe, through legal means. But no, it's an important thing I think that we need to, as a community, think about from a slightly different perspective every now and then. And that's all.
Yeah, it's good to step back and listen to it from all angles. And it's, it's okay to think that a regulation is stupid. It's also okay to find out more information and then to realize that your previous thought on that regulation was stupid. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's okay to change. It's okay to get more information and change your mind and change your opinion. And it's best. I mean, I'm with you. And there's some that frustrate me. And there are some where I'm like, that's about as good as what I think you could get. Probably, that's right. I'm with you. I don't scoff at the laws here in Indiana.
No,
it makes sense. And I mean, the fact that we can mess with morphs of anything that's native, that opens the doors for us to be able to work with
Yep.
native animals, to that degree. So, it makes sense, man.
Yeah. So that's that. And then the other bit, I just want to give an Iowa update. Iowa is ripping right now. So the Conservation Corps, Colubrid Fest donations, Paige, Alyssa, and Tyler, and then a whole slew of undergrads out in Iowa working, like mad. The hognose, the Western hogs, plains hogs, Heterodon nasicus, whatever you want to call them, the brown snakes. So, they're so freaking cool. They're the turtles have come in to nest, and the hogs are just descending on the turtle nests. I don't think anyone realizes, unless they've read the lit and gone out into the field and witnessed this for themselves. I would argue that Western hognose snakes are the Dasypeltis of North America, the basically egg-eating snakes of North America. These things are eating 4 to 6 turtle eggs at a time. They seem to be somewhat indiscriminate in which turtles they're eating. So super, super cool data that we're getting. Tyler's thesis, he went to Colubrid Fest. We're basically doing some genetic analyses with these eggs that are coming out to figure out what turtle species they're eating. And then everything in my life involves poop, man. We're palpating poop into bags. Like, I was out there last week with the students, and I was like, oh my God, that's a great sample. And we're just like squeezing poo gently out of a freaking hognose snake into a Whirlpack like it's toothpaste.
I was going to say like a toothpaste.
Yeah. And we were so happy with what we were getting because it was going to be perfect for Tyler's thesis. But Tyler was back at home working in the molecular lab, figuring out how to do this genomic method. So, that's that. Transmitters are landing possibly today. I was so busy today, I didn't make the mailroom. So those were bought with the Colubrid Fest money. The vet is ready to go. If I can get the transmitters out to Iowa this weekend, they are potentially going in snakes on Monday, which is pretty freaking cool. So that's going on. And then little aside, for us to go to Iowa, we have to drive through Illinois. And I hate it. I am an Appalachian guy. I am not a Midwesterner. I do not know how you all drive in straight lines through the Great Corn Desert. I don't get it.
I don't know how you guys don't puke with all your left and right and spin around and left and right.
This is how it should be. Yeah. So anyway, so I was like, I got to break this drive up. So I was looking on my phone. I was like, well, how far away is the Kankakee from where we're at? And it's like perfectly in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
That's not true at all. It's 3 hours away, but it took the 10-hour drive down to 6-hour drive. So I was like, all right. So I reached out to Christian Diedrich. He selects snakes, I believe. He is with he listened to the show. Was just accepted to the grad program. So we met him up in the Kankakee region. He was an excellent guide. Of course, I was looking for Kankakee bulls. I have 6 of them right now. And we're at a flip site. And it was like the second site of the day. And I hear Christian go, oh, I got one. And then I hear like, it's in a toilet. And I was like, what? This female bull snake was in an abandoned toilet using it as a refugia. She was probably in her prelay shed. So target acquired right off the rip, took the pressure off. Nice. It was fantastic. I now love the Kankakee. I will be going back there. In fact, I don't think I'm ever driving straight home from Iowa again. I think I'm just always going to go there. And it's just another sand prairie. So that was really, really awesome. The students the undergrads I went with were great. Took my kid. Colin went with us this week, which was pretty cool. So yeah, that's basically it.
Forgive me, I have another story I have to share because I think I would probably get yelled at if I didn't. Okay. You just reminded me of it. So this past Wednesday, I took Dex fishing. And we went out, we hit 2 lakes, we caught 2 bluegill. It was a bad day. It wasn't a good fishing day. I mean, we felt great, had a good time, just being outside. On the way home, I get a call from the shop, and Wendy's telling me that someone had just called and said that there was a 20 to 30 foot brown snake in their backyard. And I thought, so I'm like, where are they? You know, I'm literally driving during this conversation, and I'm on the Lloyd Expressway, and she calls the woman back, and I can hear her on speakerphone. And she says, you know, it's a brown snake. She goes, it's 20 to 30 foot. I am not exaggerating. So at that statement, I'm thinking, okay, a 12-foot Burmese is going to look 20 to 30 foot to somebody. Yeah. This might be, you know, a good-sized Burmese that's in somebody's yard. And I'm willing to go look for it because I'd rather find it than it making the news, you know? And so I asked, you know, where they're at. And they're literally, I'm the next light. I'm turning left. Yeah. It's right there. I'm a minute and a half from where they're at. So now they're not home. It's one of their neighbors. She calls the neighbor. In that minute and a half it takes me to pull into the neighborhood, they're already standing out in the driveway looking for me. Mm-hmm. So we pop out, Dex and I, and she, you know, she's showing me where it was. And she says, you know, I've got video and pictures. And she shows me the video. It's a 6-foot black rat snake. And it's a big one. You know what I mean? It's at least 6 foot solid. No,
22-foot black rat would be
right. Something. Exactly. Yes. Now it was a lot lighter than what they should be at that size. Mm-hmm. Like I really wanted to see this one because it almost looked yellowish brown, which that happens out here, but not often at that size. Well, then she showed me pictures of 2 dark ones. And like they said, we've lived here 7 years, never seen a snake. There's 5 of them out here right now. And so we start looking through the yard, find nothing. We go across the fence to the neighbor's yard because they're outside waiting on us too. There's like this, you know, it's going around through the whole neighborhood. We look through, we don't see it. Well, then the first neighbor calls me and she's like, it was just here. It just went under the fence towards you guys. So we go looking and sure enough, I find one of the black rats behind this wood pile. And, you know, they're all terrified. Well, I kind of brace myself on the fence, lean over the wood pile, a little bit off balance, grab it. It's about 4.5 feet, maybe. Yank it up, and I'm just holding it to try to steady myself. Well, it just gets yanked from me because here's Dex. Yes. Dex just grabs it. And this snake is flailing and all, and he's just, you know, wrangles it down, and it instantly calms down, and he's just holding it, happy as can be. He didn't catch any fish that day, but he just caught him a black rat snake, so he's thrilled.
Well done, Dex.
It was. It was so cool. And he, it's funny, the neighbor, he's on the phone with somebody and he goes, yeah, they just caught it. His son's holding it like it's a baby. It's got it all cuddled up. And we took it. We've got a spot that's pretty good to relocate him at. So we got it out. But apparently after we left, somebody came and caught 2 more. And then another friend of mine went over there because there were still a couple more that was seen after that. And the only thing I can think of on why they're suddenly seeing them when they never see them is I bet one of them, probably that big one, was a big female.
Yep.
And I think she's pulling in the males because they're still breeding right now. That's what I told him. I go, that's the only thing. It's to see one makes sense, but that many of the same species.
There's an aggregation there.
Yes. At you know, that size. Yeah, it's breeding. You know, that's what's happening. So, but yeah, very proud of Dex. He grabbed it like a champ without hesitation. And even when it was getting squirrely with him, he didn't care. Didn't bat an eye. So
there we go.
Proud of you, buddy.
All righty. Are we ready to bring everybody on?
I think we are. We are about to talk about our California herp trip. And as always, this segment is going to be brought to you by ReptiChip. Our friends over at ReptiChip doing some great things. Hop on their site, or you can go to Metazotics.com if you want to get you some ReptiChip products. Zac likes to use it. I like to use it. It's good stuff. So get you some.
Get you some. We're incubating every single egg this year at the university with ReptiChunk. So there you go.
Good stuff. So I think what we decided we were going to do with tonight's episode is, now this will be a visual episode. We're going to have a lot of pictures that we're throwing up. If you're listening to us on Spotify, don't feel that you're going to miss out. I mean, if you get time to check it out on YouTube, you're definitely going to see some good looking animals. But what we thought might be fun is not just talking about what we found, but there were a lot of interesting things that happened during these finds. I mean, it was fun. And so we wanted to bring everybody back on. We've got Roy, we've got Kerwin, we've got Kayla, and we wanted to just kind of tell the stories that happened with this because it was such a good time, and we hope that you guys, think the same.
Yeah. So I guess we start with our drive to Roy's house.
Yeah, well, even before then, when Zac and I meet in the airport, we look down and notice we're both wearing the same shoes.
Yeah.
The exact same shoe. It's scary sometimes how we can be so different yet so alike. But yeah, so the drive to Roy's house.
So Kerwin picks us up. We fly into Sacramento, and Kerwin's there. Clint and I are happy to be there. I do this thing when I fly. I know other people talk about this. My inner introvert. I don't know what the hell it is. Maybe it's being surrounded by people I don't know. Maybe it's just being surrounded by people, period. But it takes me a little while when I land, usually, to kind of like become a human being again and be able to communicate. So I was a little out of it when we landed. And we hop into, Clint got there before I did. I come in second, grab my bag, and Kerwin is going to drive us from Sacramento to where, Roy?
To Middletown, up by
Middletown.
me. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, Kerwin, why don't you talk a little bit about that drive?
Yeah, well, if you guys knew how much karma played into what happened that day. So we get going, and to be fair, Zac is asking questions about a million things I don't have answers to. So he's pointing at every mountain range, every tree, every bird, and we don't have Roy with us yet. Roy has all those answers. So I'm just excited. I'm talking to the guys, and you think you know your car, right? I know we're getting a little bit low on gas, but I don't go on Highway 20, so not aware that there's not a gas station for 70 miles on that stretch of road. And not factoring in maybe the fact that we added 500 pounds of human and maybe another 50 pounds of blood into that car, and most of the drive was going to be uphill. So we passed, 5 gas stations and 5 exits in a row on Highway 5. Get on to Highway 20, and I'm literally not thinking anything of it. My kids warn me all the time, your gas gauge, and I'm arrogantly telling them I know exactly how much gas I have in my car.
Oh, I remember the statement, I know my car. I remember that coming out of your mouth. Yeah.
So clearly on that day, what we're getting to is I didn't know my car as well as I thought I did. And I started getting stressed on gas, but I didn't say shit. We were still talking. We were having a good time. I'm thinking we're going to hit a gas station somewhere along the way, right? We're going to have to hit something. And mid-sentence, and if you know me, this is rare, I stopped talking.
Yeah, it was weird.
In the middle of a conversation we're having.
I thought you were having a stroke.
Yeah, my car was having the stroke. And I started to feel that awful feeling of you pressing down gas and your car just going and not wanting to continue. Of course, we start running out of gas. The guys start to realize what's going to happen. It's uphill on Highway 20. And for those that aren't Cali people, this is literally the middle of nowhere. There's nothing but landscape and the road that we're on. So to make things even better, we have 0 cell phone signal where we're at.
None of us.
Nothing. So I'm feeling like my AAA card is worthless at this point. After about 5 minutes of sitting stunned, we decided to take a walk up the hill to try and find cell phone signal.
Yeah.
About 10 minutes into that walk, a miracle happened as a AAA driver coming from my neck of the woods, which is almost 2 hours away, was coming home from his shift and happened to see us 3 knuckleheads now looking on the side of the road to hope to find a snake on this terrible walk. Pulls up right alongside of us. And as he berates a little bit for running out of gas on Highway 20, he jumps out. He offers to help. Of course, he's out of gas on his car. His co-worker had just apparently taken that from him. And we start our trip by me hopping in his truck, getting back down the hill, and spending about a half an hour with the multitude of blocks and brick There he is, Kevin. Was Kevin his name?
I don't
think
remember
so.
now. Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
We finally got my car up on the blocks, on the flatbed, pick up these two guys up the hill, and luckily we're all going in the same direction. So we end up at the gas station we would have ended up at anyways. And by some stroke of miracle, instead of a 3-hour detour, which we were told was the minimum time by the time we hit the call box, the tow truck driver would have gotten to us. We lost maybe 10 minutes, and now we have this story out of it.
It was crazy. Yeah, he told us that we would have gotten no signal up there, and we were about a mile away from the first phone box the emergency phones there. So it was, and it was funny because when they honked, because he came up and honked, turn around, see AAA, and I thought, oh hell, I guess Kerwin got through.
That's what I thought too.
And nope, it's just coincidence.
It was crazy.
Yeah,
so every now and then the universe gives you a handout. So in my experience, I've had tires blow on the university vans in the middle of nowhere, and like that is a minimum 6 hours of your life gone. You know what I mean? Or you get stuck on the side of the road in mud. You got to wait for a wrecker. Like we just literally go to sleep in the van, wait for somebody to come knock on the window, kind of thing. So I
ruined the first herping location. We had a plan to be out in an hour, and I was sure I blew it.
No, I was shocked to hell and back. This guy just freaking this middle-aged angel from California wrecker saved the friggin' day. So anywho,
that was cool.
So after that, little distraction. We end up meeting up with Kayla and Roy
at a hardware store, right?
The hardware store parking lot.
Combination hardware store, grocery store. Yep, the nearest provisions to my house, and the intention being to then caravan or carpool up to a rattlesnake den that I visit pretty regularly out by where I live. And who wants to take it from here? Should I just keep going, or
go ahead?
Go
okay, we'll be bouncing around.
So So we pile into my car, I believe, and I drive us up to this spot. We're going down some nice windy roads, reminiscent of West Virginia for Zach, and
very much so.
Climbing up into the mountains, and kind of a cool opportunity because I got to kind of point out that this is an area where the nominate form of California mountain king snakes, the zonata, occur, although they're very hard to find here. And so we're kind of talking about those guys and that habitat. And then we pull up to this spot that I regularly frequent, which is it's a really interesting area because it's like an old lava flow that has now become kind of a vernal pool. And there's some nice south facing kind of hillocks that are basically just like piles of boulders. And it's an amazing rattlesnake den kind of hibernaculum area. And so we started walking around looking for rattlesnakes, and it was a little bit late in the day. And also, just for general context, it was unseasonably cool this whole time that we were out. Yeah. Typically by May, it's really hot, especially where I live. In fact, like right now, the heat is finally here, and it's been over triple digits every day for this past week. But it was nice and cool. And so getting there late in the day, we were like, I don't know if we're going to see much because the temperatures were dropping pretty fast. The sun had already kind of gone down, and we were just trying to kind of catch stuff in the last remaining light. And it was kind of funny because it was the first time I've been to this spot and not seen a rattlesnake.
Yeah. Because that's what we were told. Like, the whole time coming was, there's going to be tons of rattlesnakes. We trip over rattlesnakes. And
by far the most common species where I live is rattlesnakes. You know, they're really abundant here. These are the northern Pacifics, the Crotalus oregonus, and we're looking pretty hard and we're not finding anything. And then finally, kind of right at the end, as we're getting ready to wrap up, there was a buzzer beater flip of a couple of valley garter snakes, some fitchi, and which are cool snakes. Yeah. And these were little ones, but they usually they can get pretty huge, but these are nice little guys.
And we've talked about Fitch.
Yeah.
So, to Kansas Snake Community, that book, Fitch. Mm-hmm. So it was really cool to get the garter that is his has his patronym. And I'm going to say something on the east, and when I say east, I mean like Appalachians east. We don't often see red in Thamnophis, and so the garters. I don't think I'm giving anything away. They kind of stole the show on this trip.
Yeah.
And everything had freaking red in it. Now in Iowa, we get the red sides there, but Valley garters are cool. And then they also, for the garter freaks, are known for having this kind of the end of the labial scales, the end of the lip scales. You see that big red spot, and then the red going through the eye. They're just a really, really cool species of garter. So, or subspecies of garter. So yeah, very cool animals.
You know, I have to say the three things I remember the most about that particular spot. First was, as Roy pointed out, the windy roads. He forgot to mention that he drives like it's a rally sport.
And around those turns, I was.
Oh my God! I thought I was going to toss my cookies. I mean, it was rough. So that was the.
I
first
was highly
thing.
motivated to get there.
Yeah, you were. It's like just keep a window down. Keep a window down. So that was one. Two, if you just imagine in your mind, for those who are listening, if you imagine in your mind, what do I think a place would look like that has a bunch of rattlesnakes? This is it. This terrain just was everything you could ever imagine that, a rattlesnake den would look like. That was it. And it was the only time ever I have been out looking for snakes and was actually nervous because the path is like 6 inches. It's not like you've got this wide path that you're looking back and forth. You're stepping over things that you can't necessarily see where your foot is landing on the other side always. And we're looking for rattlesnakes. You know what I mean? So and there's so many things to flip and lift up and crevices and cracks and you're having to put your hand on something to step over. And so that it was just kind of that terrain was enough where I'm like hyper vigilant on everything that I'm doing. And at one point, and here's the third thing I remember, I've now kind of climbed up this rocky thing and I'm standing there. And it's when Roy then yells, "Hey, Clint, right in front of you is where the entrance to the den is." And I look. And the hole is 6 inches from my foot. Yep. And I'm like, that'd been nice to know on the trail, Roy. But nothing, no rattlesnakes. It was awesome. And I can absolutely see why that place would turn up so many because it looks like it's just pristine habitat for them.
And I was running around like a 260-pound rock goblin. Just basically flipping everything and anything. The inverts, they kind of did it for me. Keep in mind, never been to California. So the California people listening might be like, what the hell? But one of my favorite things that we saw at this site were these bad boys. I finally got to see a freaking banana slug.
Yes.
And I, of course, picked it up. And it was one of those things where I looked at it, it was like, you shouldn't pick that up. And then it was in my damn hands. And I immediately regretted it because they make a lot of snot. So
you spent the next 30 minutes trying to get that crap off your hands.
But, it was worth it in the end. And then there were also quite a few of these guys, too. A bunch of wood scorpions. And we don't have scorpions in my neck of the woods. So anytime I get to see a scorp, I'm pretty excited. These were pretty badass, very common scorpions. So that's what we saw at this particular site.
Who found the first snake?
I think it was me.
Yeah.
What's that? And I think
Kayla found one right after.
Okay, I'm about to say I was pretty sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I flipped one and I was like, oh, finally. And then Kayla was like, oh, there's one right here too.
I think I found 2 that night.
I'm about to say I thought you did, so. Yeah.
I think we found 3 total. 3, they're all fitcheye, right?
4, all fitcheye.
Yeah.
All
and
fitcheye.
then
and then we also saw
the western
the
fence going up Kerwin's shorts.
Oh,
yeah,
right.
that's funny. What about that?
That was so funny.
Classic.
Trying to catch it and ran right up my backside. He got up there.
That's a classic California herper initiation right there.
That's right. That, and I think we found a skink as well while we were out there, didn't we? Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
yeah. Once the
so we-
skinks.
Yeah, so we certainly didn't get skunked. I mean, we found something
No, I
for
mean,
that little
considering
bit of
the
time we were able
timing,
out there. Yeah.
Yeah, we only had like 45 minutes really of light to work with,
Yeah.
so I think we did pretty good.
So we
Yeah, that was
went to
night
town,
one.
got some pizza,
Yep.
went into the
Yeah.
Airbnb, and I got to crawl up into a loft I had absolutely no business going up into. So anyway, but crashed out in the Airbnb, woke up the next day, met Roy, who showed us his amazing wolf dog and partner, and we then basically head to the flip spots.
Yeah. So day one, this was kind of the first proper day, and this was like a ambitious day. I feel like we had quite a circuit in mind between Kayla and myself, kind of organizing and scheming. And going into this whole trip, I know that Zac had messaged us with a target list, which included a California king, gopher snake, garter snake, a rattlesnake, and Elgaria, the alligator lizards. And then Clint, you had added rubber boa, right? Yeah,
rubber boa, and it was hoping for Rosie. Yeah.
Yeah. So those were our targets, and so going into that, I was like, all right, I think we can get a good number of these today. So we went for it, and most of that day was spent in kind of coastal Sonoma and Marin counties. I had a few different spots that I've been visiting since I was a kiddo, and kind of herping out a lot. So we also got to go meet up with Lucas Lee.
Finally got to meet him,
which was awesome. Yeah, he came out and joined us for the day, and we got out to this spot. There's a big old kind of dilapidated barn that's falling down, and because of that, there's all kinds of wood to flip and all kinds of tin. And so we all kind of just piled out of the cars, and I kind of gave us a quick orientation, and we just got right into it. And who wants to take it from here? I don't want to have all the glory of this moment, this initial flip.
So yeah, that first one's good. Kayla, you want to take this one?
Sure. There was the tin laying down everywhere, and there's how many? There's 6 of us. Lucas.
I think so.
And you're all. I'm standing back because I'm letting you guys do your thing, and I think there's pictures that I took of this, but you're all standing around the tin, and you lift the tin up, and then all of you just dive. And I think you're all like, what you said? You said like, oh shit, or something.
Yeah, holy shit!
Yeah,
it was in perfect unison. Yeah,
it was Zac and Clint in perfect unison.
Handfuls of snakes.
Yeah.
Well, and one thing that Roy told us before we got there was there's no rattlesnakes out here. So if you see a snake, you can grab it. And I'm glad that he did, because we took no second to think, what is this? It was just both hands, 2 hands jumping down and grabbing, because there were six snakes under this?
Yeah, I think it was at least 6.
I think it was like one of the first boards or tins too. So you guys weren't expecting it, and then it was just like little kid joy of having handfuls of snakes. You didn't even know what they were until you had time to look at them.
Yeah. So that first tin, we got 3 species too under that. We had we had a Western racer, and then we had a coast garter snake and a red-sided garter snake as well. So
there's one of the coastal garter snakes.
Yeah, these
so
guys
good
are
looking.
so beautiful in this area. They have a lot of red.
I just don't understand. I mean, I understand they make you smell, but get over it, damn it. That thing's freaking red and yellow. Like, it's insane.
Yeah.
And so for those who can't see it, the red on this is more like almost like a deep, dark maroon red, going through. That's so it's, when I don't like to say red is in that vivid, bright red. No, this is like almost like a blood red, through it. It's a really cool, dark looking animal there.
No, so we got that, and then we got this. We got the Western Racer. So here's our Western Racer that we got, because we saved these animals to be taken with the good camera, and then we did get a California red-sided garter snake. So this was the first infernalis. More of it to come, in a minute, but I
Obviously,
was
this one's
stoked
deep
to
in
get
blue.
that because I've kept these before. So it
And
was
so
super cool.
And the reason, again, if you're not watching this, Zach's kind of downplaying this one because this one's in deep blue. As deep blue is what a snake gets, and so it's it's going to be as ugly as what a red-sided is ever going to be. Is at that moment right there. So we checked it, but it didn't have that pizzazz that you really wanted to find with that red-sided.
Yeah,
So,
they're actually
right off the
pretty
rip.
uncommon at this spot. Like I've only seen a handful of them over the times I've been going to the spot. I've only seen a handful of red-sideds and tons of coast guarders. So it was cool to find, and also kind of a letdown that it wasn't blue.
Yeah.
But the main target at this site was boas, rubber boas.
Yeah.
So I had never actually found any boid in the wild. Period. The end. Hard stop. Been to Costa Rica more times than I can count. Somehow I'm the one guy that hasn't gotten a boa constrictor yet, or a rainbow boa, or anything like that. So this wasn't just like a new species for me. This is a whole new lineage of snakes if we can get it. And so, Roy, why don't you talk about your perspective?
So this is kind of my favorite spot for boas, and rubber boas are one of those species that are kind of locally abundant where I'm from, but they're also hard to find because they're so secretive. These highly fossorial snakes, and especially in the summer where I am, it's just so hot that they're like deep underground. So, but when you get out to the coast, you can kind of increase your chances of finding them because it's a lot cooler out there from the the kind of marine layer of the ocean. And so this was the first place I ever found boas, and so I was excited to take y'all there and see if we could find some. And I actually flipped this piece of tin. There are kind of two different flip spots right next to each other where we were, and we were at the last section of the first one. And I flipped this piece of tin that usually doesn't have anything under it. I've actually never found a snake under it before, and there's just a little baby boa cruising along, right, just kind of getting towards the edge of a hole. So I grabbed it and was like, boa! In a very, very triumphant moment to find that snake, because it's just such a special, weird little animal, and and also they're so much more sensitive to heat. And so I knew that like we'd gotten out there in the morning, but it was already hot on the tin itself. Like when we were flipping tin, the tin was already warm, and so I was like, oh man, we might be missing the boa window. But we ended up finding a couple, I think, that
we ended up finding another one, and that one is this one, which was the bigger of the two.
So this one was just across from this first spot that we were at. There's this other spot, and we flipped a few there, and we got another boa, which was really, really exciting to get two boas right away. So already hitting targets, which was a good feeling.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're like an hour into the herping trip.
Yeah.
We've got I was like, holy hell, this is freaking amazing. I'm a super cheap date when it comes to herping. I just want to find snakes. So I was massively impressed with the first hour. And the other thing that was fun is I had my DSLR, and I always wait to the end to find the snakes. But we normally, when you go out herping, you may have one or two snakes. But we decided we need to take a picture of every species. So while Roy's doing the flipping, I think it was me at this point because we didn't have a bag. So I've got a racer, an infernalis, and an elegans in my hand, Coast Guarder snake. Then we get the boa, and we get to the point where I was like, all right, I think I have a bag in my car. And so I'm walking down the road, and here comes this guy in a truck, and Lucas is going with me. And I was just like, hey, and I waved with the hand that had the snakes in it, which was great. And he gave me this look like, well, you're deranged. Like, what the hell are you morons doing out here? It's kind of cool. But anyway.
Well, I think it's funny that, at that point, well, before you even got to the bag, he's running out of hand space here. So Zach's got snakes in his cargo shorts.
Oh, yeah.
as he's walking around. It was so great. So that was one of the things I really remembered for that piece was Zach with the waving at the guy, with a handful of snakes. There's a picture, I don't know if you've got it or not, where I'm behind Zach while he is taking a picture of something, somewhere. And to me it's hilarious because I didn't realize Zach has no regard for what he's laying in at any point. If he's going to get this excellent picture of a snake, this is Zac right there. Just, I mean, it's like, you know what? If there's going to be a rash to had, he's going to get it. You know, I mean,
To get it in bad places.
that's right. He just jumps in it, and I think that's hilarious. And what was that crap that shredded us? What's that?
Oh, the thistle.
Oh,
The stinging nettle. Yeah, that was awful.
yes.
We got
I mean,
annihilated by stinging nettle at that spot.
yes, we did. I mean, that hurt for hours after that. I mean, it just like it stuck with you. I mean, it was bad, but
No, there we are. I've laid on the ground and taken so many pictures of snakes this summer. It's been kind of great.
What also made me laugh a ton was Zac and Clint could not believe that our racers were not biting them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
What is up with that stuff?
We found over 50 snakes, and I think we'll talk about, well, only one took a shot, but it was none of the racers, and we must have snatched up a half a dozen that day.
Yeah. I didn't get bit by anything.
No, Eastern racers.
Yeah, everything was on their best behavior.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Everything was
So
pretty cool that spot.
that's
So
what
from
we ended
there,
up finding there. Here's
Oh,
a
yeah.
picture at the end of it, which was pretty cool. Of
of all of us, just
all of
like
us.
Pee Wee
There's
Herman
Lucas.
style, just handfuls of
Yeah.
snakes.
It was great. That was awesome.
So all snakes released, headed in, grabbed lunch, and then where did we go next, Roy?
No, actually, this is actually been before lunch. We
This is before lunch. All right. Well,
we went on
Oh.
the death march.
I'm about to say,
Yeah.
I think you've
Right.
blocked this one out.
Yeah, I got it.
The ascent.
Yes.
We gave Roy so much shit for this, too.
Oh my
I
God.
also
Yeah,
waited
so I'm
till
like,
the very
okay.
end to tell us that the last person he brought up there threw up. Mind you, after we all made the trek up the hill.
He
And it's
tells
hot.
Yeah, and he says, so this next place is going to have a little hike.
A
A
little,
little hike.
Well, you know, Roy has 78-inch legs.
Yeah.
And
It's true.
I mean, it's ridiculous. And so, I mean, we kept walking and walking. And when we say the entire hike is uphill, it is. It's not like, you know, oh, most of it, all of it. If you hit a flat patch, it's for 4 feet, you know, and then you're uphill again. And I mean, then once we got out of the woods, we're in dead sun, no shade.
Yeah.
And I mean, it got to the point where we all just kind of start side-eyeing Roy. And
I can feel the heat. I'm up
There were
ahead.
outright threats being
I can
made,
feel
let's be
the
honest.
heat on my back. I'm like, oh God,
yeah,
they're gonna
It-
kill
it was-
me. This better
But I
pay
think
off
we
up
need to talk
here.
a little bit about Kerwin, because poor
Yeah.
Kerwin, within the past year, got some pneumonia that then led to basically sort of kind of maybe not quite, but mostly lung failure.
Yeah.
And then he kind of was in the hospital for months and came, you know. So
mind you, I
Yeah.
arrogantly thought I was fine. I'm doing at this point 12 to 15,000 steps a day, trails. I thought I was okay, but that walk literally, I think, almost killed me. And yeah, Clint, about 3/4 on the way up, Clint started looking at Roy, going, "We better find something here, Roy, or one of us is coming back down the hill."
this may be the hill you die on, Roy.
Exactly.
Roy's also talking the whole
Exactly.
time. The rest of us are sucking wind, and Roy's talking and giving a nature history the whole entire way up, like it's not bothering him whatsoever. Off, you know.
so
Yeah,
So the
Yes.
ascent.
so 2 hours
miles
later, oh, it's more than 2. It was counted.
mhm.
I think it was like 2.2 one way. So
Yeah. So something like that, you know, a couple miles and some change. We get up to the top of this hill, and there's another flip site. But it's like the sun's fully out at this point and like beating down on this tin, and I'm like, I'm starting to feel a little bit of anxiety because I've just made these people climb up this hill to this flip
We're calling
site,
death
and it's
march.
already getting hot, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get killed up here.
well, then
And-
like what the first 6 boards?
yeah,
there was
yeah.
nothing.
The first,
Zeros.
like, and this is a spot where I've actually laid out a bunch of tin too. There's probably what 50 sheets of tin or something here to flip, which is pretty great. But the first, like 5 or 6, nothing at all.
And that's when Roy finally started to sweat. So it's
I'm like, here we go. And then finally we flip one, and there's a ringneck snake. and Lucas grabs it, which is great because the ringnecks in this area are really, really gorgeous.
They
Yeah,
are.
it is.
Yeah.
And so it was fun to get to find those, because also those guys are another one of those kind of, they prefer it cooler, and so
Mhm.
kind of an unlikely thing to see under those conditions, but a really pretty one. And then
they did the complete, as you can see in the pic, perfect coiled up tail display.
Yeah.
And which do you know which subspecies this is?
So this is the Pacific ringneck. Let me double check what it is now. I know it's gone through some changes.
I'm always stoked to find a new ringneck subspecies to add to my
they're awesome
ringneck list. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and it's something I feel is kind of underrated on herp trips, because there's certain areas that they are so prevalent, and it's a little snake and there'll be 12 of them under the same board, but they're so pretty. The coloration is so cool to really get to see.
If these things were 2 foot long, they'd be everybody's favorite. But
yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, and we ended up finding 2 at this spot that day. We also found that tiny, tiny baby one as well. And these are amabilis, so the Pacific ringneck.
All right.
But yeah, and then everyone kind of spread out a little bit, and everyone started flipping, and then you guys got your Pituophis. So you want to talk about that?
It was funny the way that played out too. When Zach and I walked over, it's I go, okay, well, are you ready? Zach's over on the left, I'm on the right, and Zach goes, "Come on, Pituophis." Lift, get it. and he grabs it. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. And there it is. I mean, nice little gopher snake. I mean, and again, no biting, no aggression, nothing whatsoever. And that was, what, 3 foot roughly?
Yeah, he was a nice one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Roy got to live.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I got to live. Right. Thank goodness. Yeah. Dodged the bullet. And what else did we find there? I think we found a couple other. Did we find more gophers?
We finally got this.
Oh yeah, right.
I had finally got my down on my knees for that one.
I'm about to say, Kayla's a trooper to get that bad boy.
Yes.
We also caught that giant salamander on the way up.
Oh, right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we found a dicamptodon up the hill too. That's right.
That was Lucas's
nice memory on that.
Yeah,
that was a cool one. Kind of an unusual thing to see in May too, so that was pretty special. But yeah, southern alligator lizard.
And is this the species that lays eggs or live birth?
Yeah, so this is the egg layer. So we have both the northern and the southern in this area, and we were hoping to see both. And I think actually by the end of this day we did see both, although we didn't get photos of the northern. Gotcha. But yeah, this is the southern, which is the egg layer, and this is a nice, really green example too. So it was a good one to find.
That was a good one.
And go ahead, Zach.
I laid in the dirt again to get more pictures. So.
And the reason I wanted to be sure that people got to see some of these is we're going to talk about these pictures at the end and what we plan on doing with them. And I want you to see all the hard work that that Dr. Zac put into to getting these great shots.
Oh yeah.
All right, cool. And so we then have a much easier hike down off the flipping mountain, which was much nicer.
It was amazing how different that walk was.
Yeah.
I mean, it was
downhill after having found snakes.
Yeah. And it felt like it was a quarter of the time. I felt like I could have skipped down that one. It was insane. So,
and then we were rewarded by really, really good fish and chips and seafood over right on the ocean.
Yeah, saw my first sea lions in the wild.
Oh yeah, we got to see some sea lions chilling there on the pier. Yep, classic. And
driving past the Pacific too, for those who have never been out there. Now, at this point, I've now got to see the Atlantic, and the Pacific, and your ocean's angry.
Very.
It's I mean, down in Florida, it's it could be choppy waters at times, but it's usually pretty calm. No, yours is just mad. I mean,
and cold. Yeah, up here it's angry and cold for sure. It's not swimming ocean. Yeah, I mean, you can if you're crazy, but it's
hard pass.
It's pretty hardcore.
But yeah.
So we refuel, and then we kind of regroup, and we're like, well, we could go a little bit further south to this spot that is known for really, really nice red-sided garter snakes. And we kind of decided that that's what we want to do. We were kind of discussing a couple different options. We were like, or we could go inland and try and find rattlesnakes, or but we got a better chance for those later on. Let's see if we can go find a really nice red-sided. And so we all pile into the cars again and drive about an hour and a half south, and kind of arrive in the late afternoon at this spot. And we just start walking around, and everyone's like, well, how do we find the snakes? And I'm like, you just got to walk and listen for them to move off the trail, and hope you see one. And it's not a flip site, we got to walk them up at this spot. But there's also a couple of nice little pools, and I was like, around the pools is a good area to look. And so we're cruising around, and a couple garter snakes had already kind of darted off away. And I think that you saw a northern alligator lizard as well.
Yeah.
As we're walking out to the spot, and we reached this first pond, and we're like, okay, we should spread out here and start looking for infernalis, because this is a spot where I've seen them before. And so all of us but Zac go left, and Zac goes right.
Stays on the trail.
Stays on the trail. The rest of us kind of go off trail, and we're kind of weaving around through the sedge and marsh grass. And then all of us hear a sound from this figure up on the trail. And I'll let you take it from there, Zac.
So I do this thing when I go herping. I do it in Iowa. Always done. I did it in grad school, where if the group goes to X, I just inherently go to Y. I don't know if it's just because I like to be by myself. I don't know if it's me thin slicing and, figuring out if everybody's over there, they're making more noise, but I don't know. But my intuition, everything was saying, like, stay on the trail. And I did look at the sun and saw that, like, the angle of the sun, because, by the way, that was another trippy thing for an East Coaster, having the sun come in at night from the ocean, because it's always hitting you on the back. I remember that was like whoa, what the hell? But anyway, I looked, and I just came back to home when I'm looking for Nerodia or Regina or garters here. And I know, like, when you get that low angle of the sun, they like to get into the grass and do that cryptic basking thing. And so I thought I might get lucky. I had herped up a coastal garter with this idea. So I thought at the very least, I'm going to get another coastal garter probably. And I'm walking down the path, and you're kind of in that zone. I was actually, full disclosure, trying to figure out what the hell bird I was hearing at the time. And I just glanced to the left, and I literally see in the grass the prettiest snake I've ever seen in the wild in my entire life, period. Hard stop. I've seen corals. I've seen scarlet kings. I've seen Central American corals. I saw that Stewart eye in Costa Rica. This snake unequivocally took the freaking cake. And we don't swear on our show. But when we're in the
except
field,
when I'm on it.
Yeah, Roy.
yeah, only when Roy is on it do we drop our F. And maybe Rob Zirkle. But I may have expressed to Jesus Christ how amazing this snake looked. And it went something like, holy effing Christ. And then boom, I was on the ground.
But you were frozen solid before that. That's what was hilarious.
And all of us look over, and we just see you. And I'm like, I think Zac sees an infernalis.
You yelled it out. Roy goes, infernalis, and Zac goes, hell yeah.
And then boom.
This would be the infernalis. The snake was insane. Yeah. And I'm going to give my natricid brothers and sisters that listen to the show some credence, because I don't care who the hell you are. I don't care if that thing smells like a rotten fish. I'm picking that up. Like, these things are absolutely insane. And the other thing was, it posed. Like, garters don't pose. So only restrained briefly to get the picture and then released back into the wilderness. So there you go. But I was on a high. because I've read about these snakes and seen these snakes in books since I was a kid, the crazy Western garter snakes. And so to actually like see this thing in the wild, it was probably, well, it was definitely my favorite herp of the trip.
Oh yeah.
And it was just such a very, very cool moment for me because I've always liked garters and water snakes. And then having you guys there to kind of see me, all 260 pounds of me grinning ear to ear like a freaking deranged 10-year-old was pretty freaking awesome.
It was really cool for all of us to get to experience that because, I mean, I think, Roy, you even said this, I mean, because you have found so many of these, you know, over the course of looking. I think you said this is probably the prettiest that you had come across.
Yeah, it was a really, really nice example.
It just shed.
Like, it was just immaculate. I mean, we're talking bright red, black, and turquoise.
And as good as the pictures are, I don't think we can capture that turquoise. No. That dorsal stripe was so neon blue.
Yeah. It definitely was. It was such an experience seeing that and seeing it in the wild that I had a conversation with Roy more than once that what I now want to do is I don't just want to set up a naturalistic enclosure for these guys. I want to set up an enclosure with the plant life from where these are from, where it's, you know, a completely their home naturalistic setup. And we're going to, yes, exactly. And it's going to happen in that way. Well, and I also, I think, Roy, you mentioned that these don't interbreed with coastals either.
Right. Yeah.
And so I think our plan is to actually have, you know, a small group of both of these, you know, in the same setup. And I just think it's going to be a beautiful display here at Metazotics. I mean, there's so many snakes that we like, so many snakes that are just awesome, but seeing that beauty out there in the wild was such a moving experience that it was hands down, we have to do this. This is going to be something that gets done. So it was incredible.
Yeah, it's so cool to see them just like literally sharing the exact same habitat with the coast's garters, you know, and literally, I mean, we flipped them under the same tin. We had seen a coast, like Zac said, he hiked one up right before this infernalis. And so it's really cool to see them right side by side. And honestly, when I was a kid, I actually struggled to even know which was which sometimes, because sometimes you'll find a coast that's got this really amazing red as well. But when you see a true infernalis, you know.
Oh, yeah, I knew.
As we did. And they're really just special snakes. And this particular example was just an absolute stunner. So
yeah, no, totally. And so
a triumphant moment.
It was pretty triumphant. So we wrapped the day. There's Lucas looking confused.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was the crew for the first day, which is pretty awesome.
A lot of fun.
No, it was weird to herp in a sweatshirt. I was not anticipating that for California.
Yeah, I mean, part of that too was we were, you know, right out on the coast, and part of it was just like I said, we'd had this kind of unseasonably cool weather, and but like from there, we were like, all right, well, we can still do a little bit of herping on our way south, because the objective for the day was to get a little bit further south, kind of below the Bay Area, by the end of the day, so we didn't have to deal with Bay Area traffic the next morning, and we could kind of get actually out into some herping habitat. And so we decided to go cruise a pretty legendary road that Kayla put us onto for our in the East Bay for that evening. And it was pretty funny because we're all kind of going out there. We've already had a pretty awesome day, but we're like, maybe we should try and cruise anyway. I mean, it's like temperatures are pretty low. It's like right around like 60, 58 degrees, and probably not going to see anything, but let's just give it a go. And so, Kayla, you wanna tell us about this spot?
I've only been there once before, but it's, without naming it, it is a very popular spot for the Bay Area. And last time I went, of course, it was not 55 degrees, but I found all kinds of stuff. And then because we were getting such a late start, and because it was already so cold, and it's just a road that you road cruise back and forth, I was not feeling very confident. but that was we got lucky a little bit.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And that was the running joke the whole trip then was like, oh, it's not 55 degrees. We're not going to see anything.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, it was amazing. I mean, how many things we actually ended up coming across, in that weather. And it was, the California snakes are just weird. They don't bite. They come out when it's cold. It's just, that's not how it is in the Midwest. They don't do that.
Well, that was our first Cali King that we caught right at the lowest temperature. We're literally looking at it. We'd seen some Norpax and things at that point, and it's just dropping. It's 55, and that's when Roy screams out Cali, and we all come flying out of the car.
Plus, it was windy too, so there was like the wind chill.
Yeah, I think we saw a few, because there were a few of the rattlers that we saw that were just fresh hit. They were still moving, but were on their way out. I thought we saw maybe 2 or 3 of those first.
Yep.
And then, there's one there. I mean, God, thing's gorgeous.
Yeah, they're so
I know, you guys you see these all the time. For us, I mean, that was only the second rattlesnake I'd ever seen in the wild, and Eastern Diamondback was the other. Which was in Florida. So I've seen rattlesnakes on, from coast to coast at this point.
Yeah, now you've seen both.
That's right. It's pretty neat. So, we saw some of the DOA, Dead on the Road there. And then the first Cal King that Kerwin had mentioned, we need to take a step back and we have to point out that Roy has eyes like an eagle.
Oh my God.
Like, I mean, there was no point in anyone else being in the front seat.
I got out. I gave Roy the front after I realized.
I mean, it was ridiculous. And it's not just, he's not in the passenger seat. He's driving. And I'm sitting here thinking, at one point I was in the front seat and I gave up looking on the driver's side because there's nothing I'm going to see over there that he's not. In fact, he's going to see shit on my side that I don't see. And so it's like pointless for me to even, I'm trying to look like, 30 feet ahead because that's the only way I'm going to spot something before he does. And it didn't matter. And then Roy goes, Cal King, and whips the car over. And he goes, it's on your side. So I jump out. I've got my flashlight. I got my headlamp and I look left and I look right. And I look ahead, and I go, I don't see it. Where the hell is it? And Zac yells, don't move. You're going to step on the damn thing.
He was dancing around it, dude. It was insane.
I look down, and it's right between my feet.
It was directly under him. The boy being crushed by cars, it's going to be crushed by Clint. It's going to be a DOC, dead by Clint.
Was that the time when my car didn't go into park, or is that later?
No, that was a little bit.
No,
this
that
is a little bit later.
That
was a rattlesnake.
Yeah.
So we see the Cal King, and it was also a baby one. So it was. I mean, the snake was 12 inches long, something like that.
Yeah, and Roy spotted that while going 40 mile an hour. 50.
Yeah, which was it was lucky. I mean, that was an amazing thing to see because it was that made it that we hit all of your targets in the first day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one day.
Yeah. And that was a big target for us. I mean, because again, you're talking about one of the most common species in the trade, but how many people have actually seen one in the wild? And that for us, that was just incredible. That was something I think on our list, that was probably the one that was the highest. Like if we missed other things, we wanted to be able to say we've seen a Cal King in the wild. Now, the infernalis took the cake, as far as whoa when we saw it. But I think the Cal King is what we both were like. We have to leave California with that, saying we booked that one. So that was really cool.
I was stoked too because that's probably of those species on that list. That's probably the hardest one. That's to just reliably target this time of year. And so when we saw that one in the road, I was so amped that we found it because I was kind of like, well, hopefully we'll get a Cal King. I mean, they're not rare, but they're just harder to target than a lot of these other species, at least in the areas where we are. where we were planning to go. So that was awesome. And then we also ended up cruising up a bunch of gopher snakes there and a few more rattlesnakes. And the first live rattlesnake we ended up cruising up, I kind of pull alongside it in the road. It was kind of on the left side of the road. And I throw the car in park and we all just start jumping out. And the car is still rolling.
I was in the car still. I was in the back seat.
Kayla's in the back seat still. And then Clint's like,
hey,
the car, trying to like stop the car. And I'm like, Clint, it's fine. It's gonna be fine. I'll just jump back in. So I just run and jump back into the car.
I didn't do anything. I just sat there. I'm like, okay,
No.
I'm rolling down the
People
road.
that are not from California are like, what the hell is wrong with these people? The car is like careening off a kill. Kayla's in it. Roy's just like, I'll just casually jump back in. And Clint and I are the only people that seem to have any sense of urgency. I don't even know what Kerwin was doing. I don't remember. Like,
it was, I think Kerwin was looking at the rattlesnake.
As I look up and the car's moving, because Kayla nonchalantly in the back goes, car, and it just starts rolling. And it's like there's zero. It's all, and Roy is the chillest he could be. Like nothing was happening.
Like why you guys upset?
Kayla's trying to climb up 2 seats to the front and scrambling. And Roy's like, I got it. And casually hops back in and slams the brakes, and then proceeds to blame the shifter on getting stuck on a hair tie.
Well, like I said,
it wasn't a hair tie. It was one of the headlamps that we've been using.
Oh.
It had fallen down and it had like wedged itself in the shifter. So when I went to shift it, it fully stopped. Like I had gotten all the way to park, because I will fully admit that there have been many times road cruising when I have jumped out of a vehicle before it was in park. It is like,
yeah.
I mean, if you're not a real herper unless you've done that, right? And so
Didn't do it with a
I was like,
in the
I definitely put that in park. Like I shifted all the way till it stopped, and it was because it was like this headlamp was wedged there, so it just landed in neutral. But
well, I think I said that it was, you know, there were 3 plans that occurred to stop that vehicle, and all of them sucked. You've got Kayla was, I'm just going to sit in this back seat and manifest this car to stop. I'm just going to say car, and eventually it's going to stop. You've got Roy, who's like, we'll just walk it. You know,
we'll walk it down.
We'll walk
get it
with
wherever
the car.
Yeah,
we'll meet it. And I'm like, I will stop this car.
You were in front of it, like hands on the hood. You were gonna stop.
I'm like, and I saw that, and then I got scared because I was like, Clint's gonna get run over by this car, this slow moving car right now.
Yeah, there was not a whole lot of strong thoughts given to this incident, but it was fun nonetheless. So
yeah, that was kind of the bulk of day one. We got back to the Airbnb. I think that we closed out that day. It was like 26 snakes or something like that.
Yeah, it was good.
It was in the mid 20s, I think, and we hit all the targets for the trip. So it was kind of like, all right, from this point on in the trip, we're just going to be having fun, and at least in the kind of being in the unofficial guide seat, I was a little bit relieved to have the pressure off. So yeah, we ended up staying in a place kind of in the south of the Bay Area, and the intention for the next morning was to get up kind of early and get out into kind of a more kind of wilderness setting, this really wild place that I love on the eastern side of Big Sur, kind of central coast of California. And this place is just this really amazing area where there's all these incredible rock formations, and it's kind of valley oak savanna habitat, and just gives like kind of an idea of what a lot of California used to look like before, development and agriculture. And I kind of wanted to show us that a little bit, especially because we were driving through so much ag and so much kind of disturbed habitat through the drive. And so we get out there for this pretty badass hike. And I think the kind of the first really cool observation, I think I saw a valley garter, a bigger one pretty early on. But then the really first like kind of fun observation of the day was Kayla spotted this garter that was eating frog spawn.
Yeah, Kayla had 2 awesome finds out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
we all just stopped. Yeah, you want to tell us, Kayla, about that?
Well, we walked up to this like little water feature, and we're looking at something else. Oh, I think we were looking at the bullfrogs.
Yeah,
Yeah,
big
there's
bullfrog.
bullfrogs.
And then I just glanced down, and right along the edge she was good size too.
She was big.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, big
at least
girl.
I'd say close to 4 feet probably. Yeah.
Yeah. And she had really bright colors too.
Mm-hmm.
Was this garter snake, and we all just froze. And she was eating something, and it took us a second to figure out what she was eating. We're like, is she eating tadpoles? Is she eating frogs? What is she eating? But it was frog spawn, so frog egg. And we just took a second, and we stood there for like at least 5 minutes and just quietly watched her, and she just was totally comfortable. She didn't take off. She sat there and ate her frog spawn.
Yeah.
It was nice just to we slowed down and just took a breather and got to observe that.
Yeah, it was a cool moment of like, it was the first, I feel like, moment of the trip where we didn't have the urgency to catch the snake because it was a species we had already seen. And it was a cool observation to just be like, okay, we don't need to catch the snake. We can just watch her do her thing. Yeah. And she wasn't, urgently trying to get away from us. So it made just this awesome opportunity to observe her doing this pretty cool natural behavior. And we all got to pass around the binoculars and like really get this, up close look of her kind of trying. It was a lot of effort to eat this frog spawn because there wasn't much to grip. Yeah. From what I could tell, it was taking her a long time to get it down, but it was really cool to just observe her doing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah. And so then from there, we kind of started kind of meandering around this giant rock formation, and making our way to this larger creek, pretty good sized creek with a fair amount of water in it, considering the time of year. And we were kind of looking for pond turtles or garter snakes, and it was pretty hot out, and folks were just taking off their shoes and just walking through the water at one point, which was really nice.
It was awesome. It was kind of one of those where it didn't serve a purpose. It didn't serve a herping purpose. It was just something fun to do. Yeah. In my mind was, I'm in California. Here's this crystal clear, beautiful stream. Yeah. I'm walking it too. Yeah, absolutely. So it was neat. Cold, but neat.
So yeah, we need to set up the first snake. Yeah. And I want to take this for a second because I spend all summer going to creeks being a crayfish guy. And so I don't know. I was the uptight asshole. I didn't know it at the time, but I was like, I'm not going to walk in that. I'm going to get my feet wet. So we walk up to this pool, and Clint comes up to me and goes, basically in the nicest way possible, take your shoes off, get your ass in the creek. I was like, okay. Like, you're only going to have to be here once.
Exactly.
I was like, all right, fine. So I take my shoes off, take my socks off. I stand in the creek. Here I am in the freaking creek, enjoying life. I don't know what the hell's up with this pose. But my students have since got this picture and added fairy wings, and I'm crapping out a rainbow now. So anyway, so here I am in the stream, and where we basically all kind of meet. You can't see it, but right in front of this is a rock dam. As an aquatic biologist, I hate rock dams, so I did proceed further curmudgeon to start disarticulating the rock dam to allow the animals to move up and down past the rock dam. And we kind of go over, and I'm over putting on my shoes again.
So was I. That's what I had. I was sitting down putting on my shoes because I didn't want to get them wet.
Yeah, and I'm on top of the rock at that point, and she's still sitting in the water getting ready to take hers off. Yeah.
And then
but after I had put all the effort on to put my socks and my shoes back on, then I saw the snake. Yeah.
And I just heard snake and thought, crap. And then the next thing you know, I'm in the water. Kayla's in the water.
With our shoes on.
with
Yeah.
our shoes on.
Mind you, Kayla's
Well, I
yelling water
I
snake,
had my socks
water
on.
snake, like we have Nerodia in
Well,
California.
it was in the
Yeah.
water. It was swimming, and it was brown. And I know that we
Yeah.
don't have water.
I
snake.
know you know.
And
But
I
it was-
don't.
It
So
was
I
a
thought,
snake in the water. So that's what I was.
Yeah.
I was, and I didn't know what it was.
And this is what was in the water. And so
Yeah.
this was a badass snake. This was high on my wish list.
Mhm.
I guess Roy, do you want to
Yeah.
introduce this species?
Yeah, sure. So Kayla's describing it, and I'm like, oh, that's a 2-striped garter snake. And she's like, no, it didn't have any stripes. And I'm like, I know, that's just what they're called. Like, It doesn't make any sense. But I was like, it's a Thamnophis hammondii. And I was really excited because I'd only ever seen one of these snakes, or maybe 2 here before. And they're actually a species of special concern. So they're basically threatened due to habitat loss throughout the range. And this was a beautiful, big female that seemed heavily gravid. So really awesome snake to find. And honestly, just like hard to do justice to this snake in person. But they're really cool garter snakes. They're actually probably the most aquatic of the garter snakes in California. You can see how much they resemble Nerodia. They really are just
That's why I was
super
yelling
aquatic
water
snakes.
snake.
Yeah, totally. I mean, they are the California version of a Nerodia for sure.
And
So special one to find.
and that's another thing that I haven't mentioned yet that I learned about California is they love to name everything California, whatever. It's California this, California that. They're very proud people, these Californians. So, I mean, it's even for dinner that night. What did we have? Was it a California
The
burrito?
California burrito, yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
like,
it has
yeah,
a California
of course it
burrito.
is. Of course it is. You know, it's
so we decide we're going to do a photo session with this animal and then let it be. And during the photo session, we're getting to the end.
well. Now remind everyone, we only saw this because we stopped what we were doing
Yeah.
because I was get your damn feet wet.
Yes.
You know, it's
Yep.
so that caused this extra 10-ish minutes of us being in this location. And so now we're delayed longer from what we were about to do and hike and walk because we wanted to get good pictures of this snake, right? So go ahead.
No, you go ahead because I was
This
looking
is
at
this is all you,
I know-
Clint.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
Well, so Zac is just wrapped up or wrapping up, taking pictures of this animal. And I'm kind of looking, the trail continues to go off to what I'm going to say is my left from the direction that, you know, I'm looking, and it wraps around and comes up onto this hill. And I'm just looking at the hill. Well, the hill, everything out there is yellow. They don't have green grass. They don't believe in it in Northern California. So, and that's a little weird for us because I mean, everything's green here. So it's all this yellow grass, and I'm just kind of looking at it. It's real tall, but you know, all the grass is vertical. And I see something that looks a different color. It's like almost a yellowish orange horizontal. And my first thought is that a vine or another piece of grass laying sideways that's fallen over? And I look, and I think right as I start saying it, Roy looks up and it starts catching, because I go, is that a snake? And Roy looks at it and it moves. We both see it move at the same time. Now, it was on. Now, when I said it's up a hill, this thing's almost vertical, right? Where we're looking at this snake, and it's probably 15 feet up from where we're at, roughly. And so I will give it to you guys because all I know is me and Roy just kind of, it's a blur from what we saw. It's just go. And, you know, but what did you see?
Well, this is my favorite moment of the trip, to be honest. And we're coming off seeing that amazing garter. Roy actually recognizes what it is, and he yells out, as Clint say, California whip snake. And I saw two very different approaches up this hill. We have Roy on one side and Clint on the other, and they both sheer scale vertical. The difference is Roy with his legs looks like a gazelle. I'm going to give him credit. It's the equal amount of speed, but this is a mountain gorilla up this side.
There he is.
Tearing up this hill.
Look at that. The silverback in C2.
Yeah.
And then Roy, we can't find it. Kayla and I were down now on the rock above the water where the garter was at, and we see it go up, and we point the direction. All of a sudden, Roy, no thought process to his body, literally dives into a tree and yanks out the snake. And I think for his effort, this was the only snake that took a shot and tagged him right in the forehead on the way out.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Species, we only saw one of each of these snakes, and they happened to be 5 minutes apart.
Yeah.
The same section where we're at. That was my favorite part, watching. I'm teasing Clint, but I could not get up that hill the way Clint did. Watching those two tear up that hill and then Roy dive into a tree and grab this snake was one of the coolest moments for me of the whole trip.
You know, and I tell you, I don't know if we would not have caught that snake if the two of us hadn't gone up, because watched it. It first was coming towards me.
Yep.
And then it's seeing me come up, and it turns around and goes back towards Roy. Yep. And then all the movement from Roy makes it turn and just go straight up in between us. And there's that tree. And the tree luckily wasn't a super tall tree. I mean, maybe it'd been 8 feet total, but it starts going up that tree. And so if either one of us hadn't been there, it would have kept going in one direction and been gone.
It was a team effort.
But yeah, it's starting to go up that tree is what got it to where, it stopped long enough for us to get it. And I thought, I mean, that to me was one of the prettiest animals out there. That line, on each side was just stunning. And I mean, so you're looking at this racer, this whip snake, basically, and for those who can't see it, you're looking, this to me is the prettiest brown snake that I've ever seen. And that takes a lot for me to say, right? But it's just a very beautiful uniform brown, but this brilliant yellowish orange stripe on each side just going down it. And I mean, it's just a stunning, stunning animal.
Yeah. And then once we caught it, you also get to see the belly too. It's just really special because it goes from this like white throat kind of grades into like this yellow orange, and then by the tail, the ventrals of the tail, it's like salmon pink. So just really amazing snakes. This is one of my favorite California snakes, the California striped racer, chaparral whip snake, sometimes we call them. But this is Masticophis lateralis, and yeah, it's so true that if we both hadn't gone for it, that snake would have been long gone, because these are snakes that are just notorious for, if you do see them at all, it's usually a blur as they disappear into habitat. And they're often found on these kind of rocky, brushy slopes and chaparral habitat, which is just really rugged habitat, hard to get through, hard to navigate. And so often to actually get your hands on one, you have to just get lucky. And I was really glad that we did, because this was one of the species that I was hoping we would find at the spot. I think I mentioned when we got out there, I was like, this is a good place to see these guys. And so it really, really kind of sealed the deal. Yeah.
And it was cool for me because I've gotten coach whips, but I haven't gotten the whip snakes. So I completed my Masticophis diversity with, obviously I have more whip snakes to get, but it was cool to get a whip snake, period.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So following from the success of that, I think we kind of decided to call it an afternoon and get back on the road, because we still had some ground to cover, and we were hoping to maybe do some road cruising a little bit further south for the evening. So we hiked back around to the cars and drove out, and the idea was to get kind of a little bit further south into kind of the Paso Robles area. This was kind of right in the center of California, and a little bit further inland where it would be hotter. We were hoping we could do some cruising, make our way down to this area that I really love called the Carrizo Plain, which is kind of this final little patch of relict San Joaquin grassland habitat in Southern California. And it's a place where I've seen a lot of really cool snakes in the past. And so I was thinking, let's get down there, let's road cruise a little bit around the monument, and then we can road cruise the whole way back north to our Airbnb. Was kind of the plan. So so we piled in again after I think we took a little breather in the Airbnb. I think we took like a power nap because we were all running on pretty low energy, and then headed out down there. And when we got to the Carrizo, it was actually like pretty dead. There was not much move in terms of snakes, but we saw some really cool. Yeah, the plains of nothingness.
We did see a thing.
We saw things.
Well, we saw mammals.
We saw lots of mammals.
What did we see? Did we see bison? And we saw the pronghorn elk.
We saw pronghorn
of elk.
Ton of elk.
Yeah.
Which was cool. And
So
these are special elk, correct?
Yeah, Thule elk. So these
Thule
are
elk.
kind of a California species that at one point they had dropped down to like, I think they were just double digits, their whole population. They'd gone from a population of about 500,000 in California down to double digits, and now they're kind of slowly recovering. So we saw more than double digits just in this one herd, which is pretty awesome.
So this was a mammal-centric evening.
Yeah, it was interesting too how we saw them, because first we just go, oh hey, there's an elk. We saw one. Oh, there's two over here. Holy crap! And then here comes this entire herd going across, and
right
it's
across
crazy.
the road.
Yeah, and it's crazy that we saw it when we did, and I say that because, I mean, it's so flat until you get to the hills, and so open that it's like, how do you not see this 2 weeks in advance?
Right.
You know, because you can see it so far. And there's nothing. There's nothing. And that became the joke for us. Was we did see a thing. It was just a metal thing out in this field. And so what do? All right, let's stop the car and let's just go look around that thing, because it's, when there's
way
nothing
out there too. We had to
we had to walk. Yeah.
Well, walk to the thing.
The only thing
They walked
out
the
there was fat
Is this
tails,
something
right?
that we can
That's
flip?
anything else.
exactly. It's so funny because it's like, well, look, if there's nothing out here and there's the thing, well, it's caught our attention. Certainly, it's caught something else's attention. Something's got to be out there by that thing. And there weren't.
Which is also that's the way herping in the Carrizo works too. To you know, I mean, we didn't have obviously a lot of time there because we got there kind of right. It was going dark, and but I've herped there a lot during the day, and then especially in the morning. And that's what you do. You just look for landmarks and go explore around the landmarks, because you're just out in this grassland. And so anytime there's like a boulder or anything to create kind of some concentration of interest on the land, the animals are using it. And that's one of the reasons why it's such a cool place to herp, but
There's the
not
barn.
under the conditions we were on. Yeah, right. We went around this barn
that had the rat that scared Clint.
So, well, first off, that's something that for those of us not from California, K-rats,
Kangaroo.
what the heck? Yeah,
Kangaroo
I mean,
rats.
never. They're like little gerbils, is what they look like, and they're everywhere. I mean, we're seeing them dart across the road constantly, and there's nothing out there. So I finally just had to ask, do they just eat this grass? Because there's nothing else out here to eat, period. But them. You know, they're the only other thing out here to eat is each other. And so, yeah, we're looking through this barn, and I think, you know, it was Zac and Roy had kind of walked or started to walk in a different area. And it was me, Kerwin, and Kayla looking kind of in this barn a little bit and, you know, off to the side. And there's this old car. And so I kind of just, I don't know if I looked in the window. I don't think I opened the door. I don't remember. But whatever it was, a rat jumped from one side to the other as I'm poking my head in. And so then, you know, I'm pulling a little, you know, screaming like a little girl. It's because it scared the crap out of me. You know? So, and then I turn around and I mean, Kayla's about to pee herself laughing so hard at me because, you know, it's just a rat. You know,
Plus,
and, I mean,
it's so cute too.
Yeah, it was bold too. It wasn't like once it jumped, it just sat there and looked at me. You know, Kayla comes over, she's looking in there, and it doesn't move. It just keeps looking at us like, "What now? You know, your move." So, I mean, but
it was ready to throw down for sure.
It was his car.
We did get a California toad for Zac on the way back
We
to the
sure
Right.
did.
Yes,
Bam.
we did.
Oh, there we
Nice
go.
big California toad. It peed on him right away. He got that nice initiation of the peanut
did.
smell of the
I've
California
added
toad
this
pee.
to the Toads of America poster that I'm making for myself.
Nice.
And for those who are keeping track, it's not any toad.
It's a
It's a
California.
California toad.
It's a California toad.
They're proud of their toad.
Yeah, but
So we start-
on the way home, we it was funny because Roy was like, "Oh yeah, the Carrizo Plain. We're gonna get lots of snakes in the Carrizo Plain." We pull out onto the main road, are officially leaving the Carrizo Plain, and then boom, go for snake. So
Boom. Right away.
yeah, it was just the juju wasn't on the Carrizo. So on the way home, we did pick up a new snake for the trip
Yeah,
and a
we
new
did.
snake for us, which I was pretty stoked to add because I'm
Oh yeah.
always like these. And here we go. So last snake of the night was this nice big chonker of a. Is this a callop? I don't know my glossy
California
snake.
glossy. Yep. California
Of course
glossy.
it is.
California glossy. Yeah, of course it is. So, but yeah, no, this was a cool snake because this was one I didn't mention as a target, but secretly this was a target for me, and I knew that they were relatively common when you were in the right habitat. But it was cool because I think I saw this one first at a distance and was like, "That's not a gopher. What the hell is that?" And so it was just cool.
You know, and it wasn't until we found that I realized I've misidentified a snake once recently. Like, I mean, probably within the last year, someone sent me a picture of one of these, and they were asking me, you know, what it was, and I'm like, it looks like a prairie king snake, but the head's wrong. I'm not 100% sure what this is. If I had to call it, I'd say prairie, but that head's not right, you know, but the pattern looks roughly the same. And so for those who aren't watching this and just listening, a glossy, that's what it looks like to me. Basically, a prairie king snake's markings, but, you know, obviously a different head. It doesn't have a king snake head. So, but it was cool. It was definitely a neat little find.
So head back to the
And we saw
Airbnb.
the bobcat as we were pulling into the Airbnb.
Yes, we did.
All right. Yeah.
Forgot about that.
Forgot about that.
No, the Airbnb for this spot was clutch.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was a
It
great
basically
spot.
had a ranch.
Yeah.
Big. We could spread out.
Yeah.
Get good rest. No. Definitely good. So then get back to the Airbnb, sleep, get up, and then this was our big drive day.
Yep.
And the two people from the east got to experience LA.
Yep.
And y'all can have it.
We feel that way in Northern California too. We're not
Oh, yeah.
SoCal people. Yeah, not at all.
The
Yeah.
traffic you can have. If you live in LA, I'm sure it's great, but oh my God, that was
Zac, you couldn't
It was
even handle the
gross.
fact that it was 7 lanes across. I don't think you'd ever
No.
seen that on the freeway, and they're
No.
all stopped for hours.
no,
Yep.
not
For the
okay.
Cali people, it took us 4.5 hours to get from Valencia to Riverside. So we're talking about 25-ish miles
Mhm.
of solid wall-to-wall traffic, and that was easily my least fun part of the trip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
And
nasty.
Kerwin did driving for that part,
Mhm.
which
I figured I'd done it
Yeah.
before. I could deal with
Which
it. That
was-
might have made your head explode, Zac.
Mhm.
That was a serious service to all of us to
Yes.
do that. So huge kudos for doing that
that
part of
gave
the
Clint and
drive.
I time to look at the surrounding
I know what's
landscapes,
coming.
which
Yeah.
were interesting. And then that's when we've been in 4.5 hours of this. We get to down the southern part of LA, and I'm looking at these freaking trees, and I'm like, what the hell kind of tree is that? Is that a tree? What is going on? Like, my biologist brain is just cranking and cranking and cranking. And then I'm like, is that a freaking cell phone tower made to look like a palm tree? And I don't know why this
We
was
had the
so
pine tree
offensive to
ones
me.
first, and then Zach's like, "Oh, I guess SoCal. We have those, but at least here in Northern California, we hide those amongst pine trees." In
No.
SoCal, it's a pine tree in the middle of nothing. I will be honest, the palm tree version of that was completely new, even on us Northern California people. That one took
That was
me
an
back.
abomination. That was truly an abomination. I have no
It looked
trouble
like
They were
a
saying
Lego
terrible.
palm tree.
No. So
yeah.
the
Oh, yeah. It
plan-
did.
The plan for this day was, because this makes sense for a bunch of, at least half of us are middle-aged, late middle-aged, because we're going to herp all night in the desert. That's what the plan was. So we're going to Borrega. Am I saying that correctly?
Anza-Borrego.
Anza-Borrego. Yeah. And we're going to basically be up all night because that's totally logical for me to give a lecture the next day, and Roy as well.
Yep.
And
Oh, yeah.
basically going to camp in the desert. And so while we're driving in, we're looking for helleri on the roads, Crotalus helleri, Southern Pacific rattlesnakes. And then we started to get messages from Justin Julander, who was in for the reptile talks too. Where you're going to go herping. So we made arrangements to meet up with him. We stopped to get burritos. One of my favorite parts of the trip is we're going through LA and Clint was like, "Can we get sushi?" And it was funny because he said that, and I saw it was fun watching Roy's brain compute because he wanted to be a good host. So I think you said, "Yeah, well, maybe, yeah, okay, yeah, maybe," but his herper brain was like, "That's going to take too long." And I saw the gears grinding, Roy. I totally watched that, and so we didn't get sushi. Sorry, big guy. We got tacos.
But I pointed out every damn sushi place I saw.
He did.
There was sushi. There was
For the rest of
sushi.
the trip, for that matter.
And
Sushi restaurant without Clint pointing it out.
we had sushi together when y'all came out for Pomona for the Super Show, and it was an amazing time. We really enjoyed it.
Yep.
And so
It's a tradition.
I respected the impulse and the tradition. And I was also like, if we're trying to get to Borrego by sundown, we got to get something portable.
Yeah.
All we ate on this trip was gas station food and burritos. I mean, that was it,
dude.
And like, I'm a burrito lover. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, fish and chips. So that was like, the delicacy that we had.
Hey, come on, that was
because
something.
all of it was burritos. And again, we had Kayla in the car, and yet nothing happened. No, I mean, it was. I think that's why some of us walked. Yeah. I think that's why some of us diverted whenever we would get out and walk and field herpes. I'm going to go over here.
That's the real reason I found the infernalis.
There we go. The truth comes out.
Anyway,
the true motivation.
I like the tacos and burritos.
Burritos and peanut M&Ms. That's all we ate.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
right.
pretty much it.
Peanut
For
M&Ms.
getting back hooked on those things. Jesus.
That's so true.
He travels around with economy-sized bags of these things everywhere he goes, apparently.
The problem is they're always in his cargo shorts, so they're a little warm and squishy by the time you get them. But
so anyway, so we get our burritos to go, and now we're heading into the desert, and I don't know how this is going to go. I mean, I can't remember last time I spent the whole night up, but I am ready. We're going to do this, and so right off the rip, like we finally make it into where we're trying to get. We turn off, and we bumped into a couple herpers.
From Canada.
Yeah.
Canada, which was cool. That just happened to be herping. They weren't down there for the reptile talks, which is why we were down there. And they had said, we pulled over because they were obviously doing something. And they had found a Cali King, and they had just released the Cali King. So they were able to like find it real quick. And it was a badass Cali King. I didn't get really good pictures of the first Cali King, but I did get good pictures of this one. And so there you go. Even got a little bit of an aberrant pattern going. So super cool. And this was not that far from Scissors Crossing for those of you who do the locality thing with Cali King. So it was really cool to go there. And we had actually called Justin, got him on the phone, and told him like we're on our way. And then on the way to intercept him, we bumped into these people. So Justin figured out like I got to go to them. So after we did this, we're driving down the road, meet up with Justin, and then asked, of course, what did you find? And Justin had found a red diamond rattlesnake, Crotalus ruber. That was a lifer for me. A little one, not a big guy, but still pretty cool. And so we hop in the car, go down to where Justin thought he found it. We're looking around. And sure enough, we found the little guy. Kayla found the little guy.
Kayla spots it. Yeah.
Kayla, and this was a little rattlesnake, and it was
tucked under a yucca or something.
Yeah, you can actually see one of those dead
yucca,
yucca. So it was just really cool. This doesn't happen over here where I'm at. I've never ran into another human being actually out looking at snakes and appreciating them. So it was really kind of fun to bump into the other herpers, and
they were Canadians. I mean, they were sweethearts.
Yeah.
They were so
really
nice.
sweet.
Yeah.
So
and then they actually bumped into us while we were looking at this snake, and so they got to see this snake as well, which was really sweet. We got to kind of return the favor.
Yeah.
But I loved the moment of Kayla spotting it, because like literally we're all like with our headlamps and torches like scouring this hillside, and then Kayla's just like very like nonchalantly like, oh, it's over here. And it's like right next to the road. like visible from the road easily. And sure enough, there it was. It's just perfect little coil of a red diamond rattlesnake. This is another species of special concern in California, so another kind of protected species, and a cool snake to get to see. Actually, my lifer, red-sided or red diamond rattlesnake, I've never been down here looking for them before, so I was excited about that.
Oh, cool. I didn't know it was your lifer. That's cool.
Yeah.
All right. So we then have to figure out what are we going to do.
Yep.
And I had said that I wanted to find a sidewinder. And I cannot tell you how many Californians, even Californians outside of the Californians, were like, oh, we're going to be tripping over sidewinders. There's a million sidewinders when we drop down into where?
Into Ocotillo.
Yes.
Yep.
And I'm talking. We're talking to Julander, and it was like, let's just go get Zach his sidewinder, and then we'll kind of get back on to what we're doing. So we drive down. We found I think we got a dead glossy on the way down. Then we got a live glossy.
One moment.
Yeah, go for it.
We have to take a moment, and Justin, if you're listening to this,
yes,
and acknowledge the vehicle that this man has for field herping.
With his light bar.
Yes. He has a freaking light bar under his truck that when it lights up, it's like something from Blade. Like he's a vampire hunter. And just boom. It's daylight.
Yeah.
I mean, our lights are showing us the road. His lights are showing him 30 feet off in either direction.
Yeah.
I mean, it's insane. So it's like, who's going to lead. There was no question on who's going to be in front, because good Lord, it was crazy. I admire it, my man. It was fantastic. So Justin, if you hear that was one of the coolest damn things I ever saw.
And it was funny because they were like, well, who's going to go with Justin? Me. That was how that went. I did kind of aggressively volunteer as tribute for that. And it was fun because I've always wanted to go herping with Justin. So finally got to do it because we're very like-minded peeps. So we dropped down in, and the wind, holy hell, was not prepared for the wind. That was just kind of a fun experience. And so the first snake, we found a glossy. I remember finding a little glossy.
Yep.
When we got down
we did.
And then we saw this little worm going across the road, this ghost worm.
Awesome.
I was like, what the hell is that? And then sure enough, we get this guy. So resident California naturalist, why don't you introduce the listeners to this species? Yeah,
so this is a spotted leaf nose snake. Philorhynchus is the genus. These guys have this amazing rostral adaptation, looks kind of like a folded leaf. And they're just really, really hyper abundant in these kind of creosote flats, these sandy soils down there. And they have this really interesting way of moving. They're pretty fast and kind of twitchy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so you could pretty much identify them from the road just because of the way they move. But we saw, how many did we see this night? We must have seen
3 to 6.
There's several.
Yeah, we saw several for sure. None very big, all pretty small ones, but still just a really cool species to see. And somehow the sidewinders managed to elude us despite this exact series of roads we drove, having produced like 20 sidewinders for me in one night before.
That's because Justin guaranteed it. I think the words to Zac was, I'm not sure what else we'll find, but we'll absolutely no doubt find a sidewinder.
Which he said that, and then immediately I was like, Justin, why did you say that, man? I was like, you can't do that.
So I'm heading to Arizona at the end of July, and that is now the main target. So we shall see. But I appreciated the effort that everybody put in. We also got some interesting non-snake herps. Pretty cool Coleonyx.
Variegatus.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm. And this is the best picture I got of little guy, because every time I picked him up, he decided to flail off my hand, and I was like, I'm not picking you up anymore. So I was just chasing him down the road with my camera, just bursting, taking pictures, hoping that one will come and focus. And so this was what we ended up with. And so we then spent probably too much time down trying to get the damn sidewinder that we didn't get. And then it started to get cold, which when I was, the weather pattern we had was just bizarre, because I distinctly remember asking Kayla and Roy before the trip, like, what do I need to plan on? Like, what's the temperature at night? And one of you guys was like, oh, it's 80 or 90. And it ended up with this cold front that moved in. It was like 60.
Yep.
So we basically decided to call it early. So we ended up calling it at around, I don't know. We went up to Scissors Crossing to say we went, and I didn't even know that we had gone through it.
I slept through it.
Yes.
And on this drive back, we saw a bunch more glossies. We saw a bunch more glossies on the drive back. And we also saw a DOR Kyanactus, a shovel nose snake, which was gorgeous and sadly dead.
Yes.
But I think it's funny because we're talking about this. We decided to call it an early night, but this was like 3 a.m.
It was 1 o'clock still.
Yes.
1:30 when we started heading down to the campsite.
Yeah. So we I think that night we slept 3 hours.
3 hours.
But it was instant I don't know about you guys, but I closed my eyes and was out.
I didn't even sleep with a tent. I just literally just like put my sleeping pad on the desert ground and just went to sleep.
Yeah, boom. But it was also perfect sleeping and camping weather.
it was great.
That was
72 down there. It was 48 at the top of the hill, and it was 72 by the time we got down to the campsite.
Yeah. And I was thinking this whole time, I'm like, we're going to be out in the desert. We're going to leave from there to these talks. We're going to smell like horrid, rancid meat by the time we get there. But no, luckily, it wasn't bad at all. We were all able to kind of take a spit bath, and because there were, those bathrooms right there with running water. So everybody was able to clean up and head in.
I will say, I was super excited at 3 a.m. when I went over and realized there were showers. I told everybody there's showers, because in West Virginia, at most of our campgrounds, if you're camping, you can take a shower and you don't have to buy tokens. So that was something that was a little new to me, was the tokens for the shower. So I got a definite appreciation for both California and West Virginia. There are actually far more similarities than I realized. One of those was I can tell you that I envisioned in California that everywhere you go, your cell phone works. That couldn't be any further from the damn truth.
Too much open space out here.
Yeah, no, it's very much like home. Anyway, but this was the Kyanactus was basically the last snake of the trip, which was kind of interesting. And then we coast into the reptile talks, which was kind of fun. I woke up, hadn't driven anything, and you guys were like, "Hey, Zac, you want to drive?" And I was like, "Sure." And that was actually my attitude. So I got to drive, and now granted, it was like 6 a.m. when we left. I don't even remember.
I think we left at I think it was 6. It was 6 a.m.
Yeah.
Because we went to bed at 2, we got up at 5, and then we were on the road by like 5:36. So because we had to get back to Anaheim, which was like
5:10. Yeah.
2.5 hour drive for the talks by 9.
So,
and because I was one of the earliest talks of the day, I think I was like the second or third talk. So
yes. And so we get to the reptile talks. Got to give mad props to Rami and company, Arden, for basically covering my airfare to get out there, which was pretty cool.
amazing.
And then they gave Roy a room that I basically took over, which then Clint and I took over. And what was really fun is Clint did get his sushi.
Oh, I was adamant. It was happening.
Yes.
He was like, man, I'm tired. I'm like, no, we're going to go eat sushi tonight.
You're not tired. You're
happening.
Sushi hungry.
Yeah. And that was great because we got to go with a good group. It was Ari, Ryu. Nice. Am I saying it right?
Ryu.
Right? Ryu.
Yep.
Dave and your friends, Kayla. What are their names?
Sam and Dave.
Yes. Yes. And I mean, we had a blast. I mean, we laughed the whole time.
I missed that.
It was a lot of fun.
That's an awesome crew of people for sure.
Oh, yeah, no, it was really fun.
I couldn't be there for that either. Yeah,
it was good. Now that there's one more story that we may have forgotten here.
Oh, we have. I was going there.
Yeah,
lead us into it.
So we started the story with Kerwin running out of gas. The story ends with Kerwin decided he was just going to stay in the car and take a nap and not come into reptile talks because, the three of them were going to be turning around and driving straight back. Well, about midway through the day after Roy's talk and, they were about to head out, we all go back and to load their bags in or just say goodbye and whatever. Get our bags is what we were doing. We were getting our bags. And goes to start the car. And what happened, Kerwin?
Dead as a doornail. I'm not taking direct responsibility for that. I did try but I had the car off. Doors weren't open. Lights weren't on. I'll take the gas hit, and I know you guys are going to bust me on that one for a while. And I'll own that one. We'll call that a mystery car issue on that one. On the way
I'm just like, Kerwin, you are not getting in my car.
Car kryptonite the entire time.
It was so funny.
Well, luckily we had the open. We were in the parking garage, and so it was
just like the freaking running out of gas. Like, oh god, this is going to take forever. There's an open parking space next to us. This awesome guy, I flagged him down. He came up, got a jump. He had cables. We didn't have cables. Like, it was just.
I know. I had cables.
We had cables,
but we had Coke.
Yes.
Oh, Kayla didn't know the trick. So, yeah, her battery terminals were so corroded that we couldn't get it to jump at first. So, Roy had his, we'll call it the hippie Coke, the less sugar Coke that he had bought, but plenty of carbonation. So, we were able to pour that over the battery terminal and get it live to be able to jump that thing.
Yep. And then off they went. And then Clint and I stayed behind. We got our sushi dinner. We enjoyed the reptile talks. And then we got back to the hotel room. And it was real funny because I was like, my brain literally is going like, meow, 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 meow. And I don't know what time we went to bed, but it was definitely like the old farts are sharing the room going to, it was 10
at the latest.
Yeah. You were asleep before I got out of the shower. I mean, it was,
I was gone.
And then finally got some rest, which was pretty cool. And then the next day, we basically bounced out of there, and here we are. Final picture of the trip in the airport. I don't know. I feel like this sums CCR up perfectly. Anyway, and then flew home and basically had to return to normal living. So, yeah, that's
so.
that.
I want to now say what happens from here because. We had obviously a lot of time to talk. We all had such a phenomenal time. There's two things that have now come out of this. First, the pictures that Zac took of everything that, are the great quality pictures. We've decided what we want to do is we're going to take those and we are going to make a calendar out of them. And we will then sell those calendars. with all proceeds being donated to the CCR Conservation Fund.
There we go.
So we will keep you guys posted on how that is progressing. And, if that's something you're interested in, then we'll certainly let you know where you can get those because we think that's why not?
Why not?
Calendars are fun to have. And, who doesn't want to be able to see a new snake, every freaking month. So that's the first. The second piece is we have all decided and committed we want to do this every year.
Yep.
And we want to do it in different places, different states, different areas of a state. So that may now turn into a CCR calendar every year.
Yep.
Where it's pictures from the annual CCR trip, field herping trip, because again, it was such an amazing time. And, I'm saying this to you all, even more so than the audience at this point, that it was one of the most amazing trips of my life. I've never done anything like that before. It was just a fantastic week. Can't think of a group that I would have rather spent that time with. I mean, it was full of laughs, full of stories, full of, just high energy, and every one of us just happy as hell the whole time. So I came home exhausted, but it was worth it. Every bit of it.
And I want to thank you all too, because I do a lot of these kinds of trips, but I'm the leader and I'm usually managing about 20-year-olds. So I can never really let my guard down. And it was really kind of fun to go out to California and be like, all right, now I'm not in charge. This is freaking fantastic.
Yeah.
So I want to thank Roy, Kayla, Kerwin for, all that you did to contribute, because the two hillbillies from the East truly got the California experience. And you named a lot of things after your state. So there's a weird state pride there. But, it is what it is. And thank you. So we owe you one. So.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Yeah. Thanks so much, everybody, for contributing in the way you guys did. And yeah, it's a special experience to get to share home, to share home with folks who can appreciate it. And, so yeah, I know that was felt by the other Californians as well, but I really appreciate it.
Cool.
All right.
Okay. So we did it. We wrapped up our first CCR field trip recap. This was a lot of fun, and we'll definitely have more in the future. We won't talk about where we're going yet because we haven't quite figured it out, but we definitely have some target spots in mind. Of course, focused around colubras, because that's what we do here. So with that being said, we got a lot of people, and we're going to go through y'all. So Kayla, people want to find you. I think this is like the 7th time we've done this.
Gonna have to get her a little crown.
I know. Make me a co-host.
Yeah. So,
there you go.
Where can people find you?
Kayla Martin on Facebook, or Infrared Reptiles on Facebook and Instagram.
Okay. Roy.
So I'm at Wellspring Herp on Instagram, or Wellspring Herpetoculture on Facebook.
Perfect. Kerwin.
Just Kerwin Soto on Facebook, and Kerwin Soto at yahoo.com is the easiest way to get a hold of me.
Okay. Clint.
You can find everything we have available at Metazotics.com. You can find me on Facebook, Clint Bartley, or Metazotics. On Instagram, it's MetazoticsLLC. If you want to just email directly, it's metazotics@gmail.com. All
righty. And you can find me at Dr. Crawdad on Instagram, Zac Loughman on Facebook, and then look me up online. Herpetology Lab, it's official. I definitely have a herpetology lab now. I've spent more time in the field doing herp work this summer than crayfish work. My Crebo is very angry, if you can hear that rattling.
I can.
Yeah, I don't know what I did. I've been here for 2.5 hours, man. Anyway, so with that being said, be it morning, afternoon, evening, or night, whatever time of day it is, hope you're having a good one, and we will catch you next time on the next episode of CCR.